Hi there, Kim from Expression Artwork. So today I'm going to be making a stackable patriotic shelf sitter. I'm using folk art chalk paint in Tuscan red, another folk art chalk paint in white Adirondack, and this is also folk art, but this is a matte acrylic in navy blue. So I'm starting with the biggest piece of wood, and that's going to be my bottom piece, and I'm using the Tuscan red. Beautiful rustic barn wood red it reminds me of. I love this color red. You could definitely go with one coat. One coat is pretty. It looks more like a stain. You could kind of see a little bit of that underlying wood coming through. But I decided I did want it deeper. So after I applied my first coat and dried it, I went back in and gave it a second coat. So you could see how much deeper that looks. And that's the look I was looking for. And then I just continued painting my blocks in the colors that I wanted. Of course, I'm going with that red, white, and blue theme. And I got really nice coverage with the white, so I didn't have to go back in for a second coat on this. And then I'm taking that last block with that nice rich navy blue, and I'm going to finish painting that off. And of course with this color, since it's so dark, one coat was enough as well. I did go back in and paint the other sides, but in order for me to start drying it, I left those two edges unfinished until I had that piece dried, and then I went back in and painted those two edges. And here I'm just going to take each piece and I'm going to give it a good sanding with my Gator sander. Not only did I want to just have a nice smooth surface, but I also wanted that rustic appeal as well. So I went in around the edges a little bit harder, giving it that distressed, weathered look. And I did that for each piece. So the stencils that I'm going to be using today, I did purchase them from the Stencil Smith. And, I really liked them. I liked that they were a stackable shelf sitter, and you did get 3 pieces. The star that I'm about to show you does come with an overlay, and that's what you see next to it with like that buffalo plaid check, but I didn't want to go that route. I just wanted to use a solid star. So I'm just going to, wind up giving this actually 2 coats because I found that the blue was still kind of coming through and I didn't want that. So I dried it up and wound up giving it a second coat. But luckily I didn't have to do that with the other 2 paint colors. But I was happy with that. It came out nice and crisp and deep enough. And you also want to make sure that anytime you're stenciling that, number one, your surface is fully dry. If you don't want to trust yourself holding the stencil, you could always tape it down with painter's tape. With this one, the stencil kind of came over, like over the wood that I was using. So I couldn't tape it down, so I just used my other hand. And as I continued stenciling, I just moved my hand, but I had a nice hold on it, so the stencil wouldn't move. But like I said, you could always tape it down if you're able to. And you always want to blot your brush really well to get most of that paint off because you don't want it to bleed through. I was using very little paint here, so that's why you didn't see me blot. I did wipe off some of the excess off of the side of the paint can, the paint jar, but obviously a good rule of thumb would be to blot that paint so you don't get any bleeding. This was a really fun craft to make. I didn't really have much Patriotic, and also I love the fact that they're stackables. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you so much.